Jamal. She's the filmmaker behind A Good Dream, which has been nominated at our Festival Madrid this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
It's always the same first question. It's the obvious one, just for the benefit of the people that are watching this. The synopsis, please.
Yeah, so it's a psychological thriller art film about a girl in her 20s who's trying to find herself in New York. She finds herself haunted by a presence and has trouble distinguishing fiction from reality and falls deeper into a world of her perceptions. So it's a surreal coming-of-age story.
Okay. Now, I noticed that you were down as a first-time filmmaker.
I am a first-time filmmaker, yeah.
But I assume you've been involved in film before, but not to this degree, or am I completely wrong?
No, I was a film student. I went straight from film school to making a feature film, yeah.
Oh,
so I wasn't working in the industry.
That's a leap.
Yeah.
That's a leap.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it. You know, I wrote a screenplay and I was really passionate about it and I just wanted to do it.
No, good on you. And but this film's got a mix of animation in it as well,
It
hasn't
does,
it?
yes.
Can you just tell us?
Yeah.
We've seen that before, but rarely. Can you just tell us why you decided to do? Because I guess that was your intention all along. Why you decided to include that?
Yeah. I was going for sort of like a surreal druggy film, you know, and I wanted to be able to follow her in her trips and like where her mind space was.
I'm guessing this isn't based on your own life, by the way.
Of course not. I mean,
okay, moving on.
Absolutely not. No, but I did. So I wanted to be able to like stylize her world in a visual way, and animation, special effects, all of that is a way to do that very easily for a viewer, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be about her having like a mental breakdown or illness. I wanted it to be about her in this amazing like magical world, you know. Yeah.
No. I was going to say I was kind of going to interrupt you. So you're pretty much the filmmaker behind the whole thing. So you wrote, directed, you the whole kit and caboodle, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about the script. Was the script ready, or was that some? Of course, that's a stupid question. What I mean by that is, I guess you had a script, but then did you have to hone it before you made the film? Or was pretty much what you had the one you created on screen?
Yeah. I wrote a few versions of it. I mean, I was going into the process completely blind. So when I was writing these ideas down, I didn't really know what a feature would look like from the script, you know? Like I hadn't really been through the process. So I ended up writing like a lot of different drafts, just trying to play around with what I thought would work on paper. And coming from like more of like an analytical like writing background, I wasn't exactly sure how that would translate. So the film is essential. I mean, it's what was written down, but it's definitely, I mean, so many scenes were cut, so much of it was rearranged. It's definitely not what you would, it's not the script that I would hand you and like, you know.
I would say if I compared it to the screen, it would be completely different.
It would be completely different,
Right, okay.
The dialogue is the same, the structure is just completely different.
So you went to film school, you've done your first film. What I'd like to know is, can you explain how different to make a film was to how you perceived it to be? Because you must have had this vision of what you thought it would be to make a film, but what's the reality?
I think, I mean, it was pretty close to reality. I mean, nothing in making the film was totally like out of the blue for me, and I think it was because I had a lot of really great mentors who were, you know, who'd come and talk about their process, and they would just say like, look, you have to just go balls deep and do it, you know, and I that's what I did. And I think the only thing that kind of shocked me was I was so sure of myself, you know. I had never really been exposed to the hard work, you know, and I was not afraid to do the hard work, but it was more that I think I was naive a little bit about, you know, the responsibility you have as a director to lead people. You know, it's not just the more subtle thing, the kind of.
Well, you're spinning all the plates, and at the end of the day, whoever you've got working with you, they're going to be asking you, aren't they? Because that's, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't think about it in a more abstract way, I guess, you know, or like in a sense of like a leadership role or having people trust you. Like I just kind of wanted to make my film, so that was what was driving me. But I think now retrospectively, like I realized, you know, you do have to motivate your team more, and like you have to make them feel like they're working on a project that's worthwhile and all of that, you know.
Okay, I suppose a better question might be, what would you do? What would you do differently? Because everyone's got to start somewhere, of course. And you're starting somewhere. I'll be honest, most first-time filmmakers that I know don't start with a feature. They start with a short. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way. I'm just telling you, you know, that factually how it is.
Yeah, totally.
But what would be different this time? The next, or another way to ask you is, if you're making exactly the same film again, what would you do differently?
I would spend less money on things that I didn't have to spend money on.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I end up just like not knowing how to be smart about my production decisions because I hadn't like been exposed to that before. So I ended up just like using money on, you know, services that weren't really needed, or like, you know, whatever, deal memos I didn't really need to have written out by like an attorney or something like that, you know? But other than that, I mean, I would say I would spend way more time writing. Like, I think I was really rushed in my writing. I just wanted to make a movie. So next time around, I would probably stick with the script for like maybe a year, like really, really get in there before I just put it out there.
And is filmmaking as fulfilling as you hoped it would be?
Oh yeah. It was like, I mean, it was so fulfilling, I swear. I mean, it was definitely one of the most like creatively and spiritually fulfilling experiences. You know, putting your story out there, working with the actors, and you know, your DP. I mean, it's an art. You know, it is an art. Yeah.
And I never ask you on their budgets, none of my business, but I would like to know, you have X amount of whatever that pot of money is. How did you manage to stay within that X amount, or did it seep? Right? Did you go way past?
We went pretty far past. I mean, I wouldn't say we like doubled or something. We went like a decent. We went like maybe 10% over. You know,
which isn't too well. I mean, it's all.
Yeah.
It depends how you look at things, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, 10% of 100 million would be a huge amount of money, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But even so, I suppose, because again, that's something you've. I mean, I use that analogy of spinning plates because pretty much that's what you're doing. You're trying to watch the budget. You've got to make sure everyone's fair. Where's the lighting? I'm directing this. What's happening with this? I mean, the list is endless. But it must be very, very difficult because I guess you had really long days. It's got to be a lot of, you know, I'm up at 6 and probably working till midnight or whatever you're doing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And that I think gets back to what you were saying earlier, the hard work. I mean, obviously, I know filmmaking's hard work, but it must be brutal, to be honest.
Well, I mean, the first time you're doing it too, I think everyone is underpaid and everyone's overworked. So I think you really have to get it out of people, and it's much more taxing. I think the hours are more taxing, and I was working with, you know, my actors had to fly in the week before, so I didn't really have rehearsal time, but the roles were very subtle and quiet and hard to just jump into, you know. So what ends up happening was I would work with them after like a full day on set. You know, I'd work with them through the evenings, just coaching them, which is totally a natural, normal thing, but I think it was just like that full day of, you know, constantly being in the zone and like answering all those questions, putting out all those fires. It's definitely exhausting, you know. But I loved it. At the same time, it's fulfilling, and it's like a spiritual experience. I don't know.
No, I've often said, I mean, I love meeting. The best part of actually is meeting the filmmaker and talking to, because you always get like, it's a great story. I mean, I've never met you before, but I know you can have a great story because there is a story behind this. You see. But I wouldn't be a filmmaker because I see I see the end product and it's incredible, you know. But again, I know you've had sleepless nights. I know that I've never met you, but there's all stress and worries and everything else that's going on. You see.
You should make a movie.
No, not at all. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
The film's obviously our bread and butter. It's what we do, what we're part of. Right. But for me personally, it's meeting the people and hearing the stories behind the stories, because there's always interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I remember a filmmaker saying to me, if you could write on a page, it's raining, it's 2 words, it takes you 2 seconds. He said, but now you've got to film that, and that could be a day's work.
Right.
So a simple question would be like, you know, sourcing the cameras. How did you do that, and how difficult was that? And you know, and I suspect even, I'm not saying it was grief. I don't know. I mean, tell me, you know, even something like that, was it difficult to get getting the equipment, you know?
Yeah. So a lot of this, like the more like production kind of oriented tasks were not very difficult. I mean, it was shot in New York, so there's such a strong indie film community there, you know, so it wasn't impossible. I mean, our DP had an access to like an Alexa, you know, which is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, so we used an Alexa, but it wasn't like going through, you know, Ari and, you know, having to directly see if we can like rent one for like a ridiculous amount. It was like a personal connection. And so in that sense, you know, and we had, I mean,
and they are ridiculously expensive to hire.
Oh, absolutely.
I read, someone was telling me the other day, I couldn't believe how much it is. It's like ludicrous money.
Yeah, I mean that's what eats up so much of like camera eats up, like, you know, bigger budget films. But yeah, he was able to be really smart. He had just these great connections. He, taught at NYU, and so he was pretty he was a great package, and he was a very talented DP, absolutely very, very talented. So I didn't find those things a struggle. I think it was more because we were asking for so many favors, like even the venues. For example, we used a bar venue, and when you're pitching to someone or like telling the owner of the bar, like, hey, we want to use your bar, and like, it's just going to be this small indie film. He doesn't realize, that means like a crew of like 100 people coming in and taking over his bar.
Oh, did he sort of think like 10 people? Because I would. Well, I wouldn't, because I know the.
Right. Well, the industry.
Yeah.
But so we end up in a lot of situations like that where we were just like trying to make do with like the bare minimal that resources we have. That was what was more difficult. So I think like locations in general, especially in New York, you're not going to be able to really pay for a subway scene. You have to take it at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m.,
Right.
Which is what we did. So we went to the subway at 4 a.m. We're all like extremely exhausted. And
do you have to ask? Presumably you've got to ask for permission. You can't just go down there. Hang on a minute, I'm putting you on the spot here. You didn't do a bit of guerrilla shooting,
did you? No, honestly, like I would, because this is how I learned from other indie filmmakers. Because the truth is you can't really, you do get permits for like the street shots or whatever, but yeah, for train scenes, just take it. Just go grab it at night, because that's actually genuinely what you have to do. It would be a lie to say like, well, you go through the city and like you have to pay for, your permit and use, because that's actually practically impossible.
And it's more money, of course.
It's more money, and for like an indie filmmaker, I think that's the biggest obstacle is paying for your team and like paying for, everyone needs to get paid. Everyone needs to sort of have the incentive to work, but
picking up on that, you said earlier that the cast flew in a week early, so presumably you're paying for that week for them to be there. Because you've got to, haven't you? So it's all money and it's all anything. And with the cast, were they connected to you, or was it brand new?
It was brand new. We went through like a casting director. So.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many did you see?
Oh, so many. I saw so many. I saw maybe, in person probably like 50, but then beyond that, like just the amount of reels I looked through, because I was looking all over, and especially for the lead, I really wanted someone like her. Actually, one of my leads is British. She's like, I don't know, she's from, she did some TV series in England, and then she moved to LA. But yeah, so I just went through so many reels, and I ended up going with 3 actors who were all based in LA. So we end up having to pay for all of their expenses and
flights, everything.
Yeah, but I have no I have no regrets about that, because they were all so good, So that's money well spent, as opposed to like spending on, like we rented. I'm trying to think, like a bar venue or like a club for the club scene, and I don't think we really needed to pay that money we could have done the same scene in like an empty like warehouse somewhere, but
so I'm guessing that's one of the things you could have changed if you're doing it all again.
Exactly. So I just think like being smarter about how we spend our money, maybe. It's a low budget indie film, it was done with like I was a first time filmmaker, and I am a first time filmmaker, so it was, but at the same time you can make a good product out of that. So that's how it went down.
It's as I said earlier to you, it's always the stories behind the stories, and an example I always use is, everyone's seen Apocalypse Now, great film.
Yes.
Fantastic film, but I'm more interested in Heart of Darkness, the documentary behind it, because when you watch it and realise, well, if Coppola goes through all that shit, and he's like had a massive budget, people having heart attacks and helicopters crashing and all sorts of stuff, and I think at one point, and he says, like, I've had enough, I'm giving up, and you sort of think, well, if he's going through that with all that money and all that, he'd already made The Godfather by then and The Conversation, all sorts of films, then it puts things into perspective.
Right, yeah.
You sort of see the grief
of it. So crazy. No, you're right. It's like a universe. I guess it is. That's one great thing about being here is you just talk to other filmmakers and you're like, hey, I had this amazing hellish experience, and they're like, yeah, me too, and you can kind of bond over it. It's pretty wild, yeah.
What is it like to? I've asked this question before, but it's just difficult to, I guess, to explain. But it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are. When you see it for the first time in front of an audience, so it's the final cut, although you may be tinkering with it afterwards, I don't know. But so let's assume it's the final cut. Is it possible to explain what you're feeling?
Yeah, I feel so close to my film that it's like I don't even know how to, I don't have that anticipation for people's like approval as much as like I want them to understand, like, do you understand me? Do you understand my film? You know, it's just so personal for me, my project in particular, you know, and so I guess the feeling is, it's not even like anticipation as it is like frustration maybe, you know. That
but no nerves, genuinely no nerves. You must be.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I guess
although you seem very sort of relaxed and laid back, maybe, you know, one of these nervous.
I'm not a nervous person, no.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like nervous, but I'm not like, I don't know what I would be nervous for. Like, I'm not, even now, like, I would be fine, you know, if no one was like, if I was just alone at my screening, like, I'd be perfectly content, because it's such a like self-reflexive thing for me, and maybe I'm just like really weird like that.
No, I don't think there's a right or wrong.
it's just personality, you know?
It is, so, yeah. I mean, I've had some people say they were terrified, and others say elated, others found it very difficult to explain, as I said a moment ago.
I guess proud, like maybe I feel very proud or something, yeah.
And I suppose the fact is, there's very little you can do, it's finished, it's about to be screened, it's just got to go with the flow then, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly, you kind of, I mean, what are you going to do with that? I mean, that's what you've been working for, yeah. So.
And what's next? Is there another project you're looking at?
I'm working on like concepts. The first project, I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but it took, like, it was the story that was closest to me. Like, it was, you know, yeah, I mean, it was personal. It wasn't, you know, the narrative wasn't exactly like my life or anything, but it was the concepts of it, like, you know, about this girl who's trying to find herself, that growth. And it came when I wrote it when I was going through like a period of growth, you know, so it was so important to me, and I don't have that kind of material right now, you know, in my life where I'm like, this is something I have to express, you know, but they're like, I mean, there's a lot of concepts and stuff, so I just don't know, you know, I don't know if any of them are worth like this crazy experience that we're talking about yet, you know. Maybe I'll develop it and something will click with me. Jimmy here, he wants me really badly to make another film. He's like, not because he's seen my project, but he's like, you can't give up, you have to just keep going.
Oh, Jimmy, who made
Bound for Greatness.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's a really great
it's
film.
Really good. I love that he's talking about that, you know, like Asperger's. And
I know he's, I shouldn't speak out to him, but I'm pretty sure he's trying to get Karen to do something else with him at the moment.
Yeah.
She's a great actress, of course.
Yeah, she is.
Mind you, they're both excellent in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. They're such a good pair too, yeah.
That's it. Thank you very much for your
so
time.
Yeah.
That was really wonderful.
Yeah, this is great.
Did you pray for something magical?
No, I just get bored.
You seemed anxious on the phone.
It's just this, like, intense, creepy feeling. How do you uncover the fundamental unknowability of everything? Where am I?
If God spoke in words, we'd have nothing to think about.
Si, señor.
Stop, Uma, you're putting words in my mouth.
Fucking tell me I'm putting words in your mouth, Nico.